Stelvio or Stelvsta. It has two names because, remember, it's a German-speaking and Italian area, so they give it an Italian name.
Italian and German.
Right. And it's a unique fusion of cultures. And this is where Northern Germanic and Southern Mediterranean come together, and how you get the fulfillment of these two different cultures centered right there. It's an amazing area of Italy. I recommend everyone to visit. Being up in the mountains, you get to meet the people. Now, this cheese comes from milk from many different farmers. And most of the farmers in this area have maybe 7 to 12 cows. Very small. The cows, my brother often says the cows have one leg longer than the other, and that's because they're always on the mountain. But it just looks that way. And they literally graze on a steep mountain. And twice a day the cows give milk. So twice a day the farmer collects the milk, puts it in the big milk cans that we're always familiar with, and then what does he do? He puts it on the funicular, the tram, brings it down, goes down to the valley, and there at the bottom of the tram is the milk truck. He collects the milk, and he goes from one farmer to another, goes back to the factory, and makes the cheese. And so what you're tasting in this particular cheese, the Stelvio, is a combination of mountain milk from accumulation of several farms. See this cheese here, Dolomiti König. It means the king of the Dolomites. It's actually written, this is a German way of saying the king of the Dolomites. And this cheese comes from Alto Adige, or also known as the Süd Tirol, the Tyrolean. This is an area that at one time, was part of Austria. After World War I, the boundaries of Europe was changed, and it was seceded to Italy. It's an autonomous region, Trentino Alto Adige, and this is the province of Alto Adige, and it's very significant because it's where the two cultures came together. Now, what does this mean, the king of the Dolomites? Well, there's this story. The story goes back to the Dolomite Mountains. And if you look at the Dolomite Mountains that you see right over here, those beautiful, jagged peaks, there was a king that lived up there, as the story tells. He was a dwarf king, a nano, as we say in Italian. And this dwarf king took his army and went down into the valley and raided the kingdom in the valley and kidnapped the princess.
Good for him. Was she good looking?
She was beautiful. Beautiful princess. And he brought him up into the Dolomites, into the mountains. Now he was famous. He was famous for his beautiful rose garden. They called it the Rosen Garden, which is German for rose garden. And the Dolomites were covered with this beautiful color of rose and pinkish and reds. When the king of the valley went up into the mountains to rescue his daughter, the princess, he killed the king of the Dolomites, the dwarf king. But as the king of the Dolomites, the dwarf king was dying, he turned and said, for you in the valley all these years, I gave you the beautiful Rosen Garden, my Rosen Garden to view. You will never see that Rosen Garden again, day or night. He forgot to say evening. So every evening in this area, if you look up into the Dolomites, you see the most beautiful glow roses, red roses and pink rose color. The entire mountains change color, and only in the evening. Okay, so it still exists. Prosciutto, again, means ham. That's the literal translation. The Italian translation for ham is prosciutto. This technically is a prosciutto because it is a ham. It comes from the hind leg of a pig. But we don't call this prosciutto. We call this spec Alto Adige. Spec is a fusion between two methods of preserving pork. The method of Northern Germanic, where they smoke it, Australian ham, and the Southern Mediterranean, where they air dry it with just a little bit of sea salt and the environment, air. So this is a combination of the fusion of the air drying and smoking. But what's special about this is that the air here is so pristine. The microflora goes on that spec. It gives it that wonderful aroma and flavor.